you're alone. No clothes, no tools, no fire, just dirt under your feet and a sky full of predators. The air is cold enough to kill you in hours. Every sound in the dark might be your last. You have no idea which plants are poisonous, how to hunt, or how to make shelter. You're not a survivor. You're a walking meal. This is the world your ancestors fought through. And no, you wouldn't last 24 hours in it. You're dropped into the past. No warning, no gear. Just your bare skin, soft feet, and a brain wired for social media, not survival. The world around you is alive in the worst possible way. The ground is uneven and covered in sharp stones, thorns, and insects. Every tree is a stranger. Every noise could be the last thing you hear. You're not thinking about survival yet. You're thinking about comfort. That's already a problem. The cold stabs at your skin. Your breath fogs the air. You try to move, but realize you don't even know which direction is safer, or if that concept even exists anymore. In the Stone Age, survival wasn't a game. It was the only thing on the agenda. There's no schedule, no errands, no later. It's right now, or never. You feel a breeze and shiver, but it's not just the cold. It's a scent in the wind. Musky. Animal. Close. You're not at the top of the food chain here. In prehistoric ecosystems, predators weren't scared of humans. Back then, we were the prey. Giant hyenas, cave lions, saber-toothed cats, all bigger than anything in your modern imagination, and all faster than you. Your heartbeat picks up. It should. You're unarmed. You don't even have shoes. Even something as simple as water becomes a question of life or death. Is that stream clean? Or is it full of parasites that'll gut you from the inside out in 24 hours? You look at your hands. Soft. Useless. You've never held a spear. Never built a fire. Never slept on wet ground with one eye open. Your body is modern. Your instincts are not. And the wild? It doesn't care. Every step is a test. You try to walk, but the terrain doesn't care about balance or convenience. It's jagged, soaked, and uneven. Twisted roots snake under your feet. One wrong step and you've snapped your ankle. And out here, that's a death sentence. There are no paved paths, no trail signs, just chaos. You're surrounded by plants you don't recognize. Some look edible, others might be venomous. But you're guessing, and guessing wrong could shut your organs down within hours. The insects find you quickly. No bug spray, no clothes, just your bare skin. Suddenly a buffet for prehistoric parasites. Some bites itch, others swell. You don't know which ones can kill you. You move toward what sounds like running water. Relief? Maybe. But the path cuts through thick brush. Thorns tear at your legs. Every branch feels like it has teeth. You stumble through, exhausted, breathing hard. And that's when you hear it. A low growl. Not far, not curious, just hungry. You freeze. Whatever it is, it's big, and it knows you're not. In the Stone Age, nothing is more dangerous than a predator you didn't see coming. No matter how fast you think you are, they've had millions of years to perfect the hunt. You haven't even adapted to living without Wi-Fi. You don't have the luxury of fear. But it creeps in anyway. Every noise is a threat. Every bush could be hiding teeth. You can't rest. You can't stop. You keep walking, because the only other option is to die standing still. The sky begins to change color, sunset, and that's when panic sets in. You're still outside. No cave, no shelter, no fire, no tribe. The temperature is dropping. Fast. You think today was hard? Night in the Stone Age is something else entirely. Darkness arrives fast, and it's absolute. There's no city glow in the distance, no flashlight in your pocket. When the sun disappears in the Stone Age, it really disappears. You're swallowed whole by blackness so thick, you can't see your own hand. Your eyes strain, desperate to adjust. They won't. Modern humans aren't built for this level of darkness anymore. Every crack of a twig sounds amplified. Every rustle could be claws. You sit still, listening, breathing, hoping whatever's out there doesn't smell the panic on you. But predators? They hunt better at night. They see better, hear better, move better. You are at your weakest. Cold, tired, starving, barefoot, and invisible to yourself, but not to them. You try to sleep, but the ground is damp and freezing. Rocks dig into your spine. Insects crawl across your skin. Your body shivers uncontrollably. This isn't just discomfort. This is the beginning of hypothermia. Meanwhile, your brain is unraveling. The mind was never meant to handle this level of silence, isolation, and threat, all at once. You start to hear things that aren't there. You twitch at shadows that don't move. You're not just in danger physically, you're spiraling mentally. And still, no fire, no tool, no defense. You're as vulnerable as any creature has ever been. Hours crawl by. You haven't moved in what feels like forever, but your body is weakening. Muscles ache, stomach twists in hunger, and the realization hits. It's only been one day. The sun hasn't even risen yet, and you're already injured, freezing, sleep-deprived, and terrified. This was a normal Tuesday for your ancestors. For you, it's a brutal wake-up call. You've survived the first night, barely, but the cold hasn't left. It clings to your bones, draining your energy. Every breath feels like inhaling needles. Your body is shutting down, and you know exactly what you need. Fire! But there's no lighter in your pocket. No matches, no gas. Just damp wood, wind, and your shaking hands. This is when reality hits hard. You have no idea how to make fire. Not from nothing. Not like they did. Stone Age humans didn't just discover fire. They mastered it. They knew which rocks produced sparks. They knew how to carve a fire bow, twist the spindle, and create friction hot enough to ignite dry grass. They didn't have instructions. They had instinct, passed down by generations who didn't survive long enough to fail. You, on the other hand, you watched one survival show on YouTube, maybe. But theory doesn't help now. You search for dry wood, can't find any. The rain from last night soaked everything. Even if you could generate a spark, which you can't, nothing would catch. Your hands are numb. You try rubbing sticks, the wrong way. You break one. Try again. Blisters form. Your breath turns shallow. Ancient humans would have had fire by now. Without fire, you can't boil water. You can't cook. You can't keep predators away. You can't sleep. And worst of all, you can't warm yourself. In the Stone Age, fire wasn't just about survival. It was control over the uncontrollable. Warmth in the cold, light in the dark, power over fear. And right now, you have none of that. Your ancestors might have carried embers between camps, protecting them like treasure. Others learned to coax flames from nothing, flint, fungus, and focus. You've got shaking hands and wet bark. You're not battling hunger anymore. You're battling exposure, a silent, slow death that creeps in without drama. And without fire, it always wins. Long before humans wrote words, they wrote warmth. Fire wasn't just useful, it was holy. The earliest evidence of fire use goes back nearly 1.5 million years, and it changed everything. It turned raw meat into nourishment, darkness into safety, a cold, unwelcoming planet into something slightly more survivable. But it wasn't easy. Prehistoric people didn't have Bic lighters. They had rocks, specifically flint and pyrite, two stones that could create sparks when struck. But it wasn't just about striking. They needed tinder, the right kind. Dry moss, fungus, or bark shaved paper thin. A single mistake meant starting over, in the freezing cold. And if you managed to make fire, you guarded it. In many ancient communities, fire was never allowed to go out. Tribes carried burning embers wrapped in bark or kept glowing inside horn containers. They moved fire across continents, one breath at a time. There were even fire keepers, people whose job was to maintain the flame. If it died under their watch, it was considered a spiritual failure. In some early belief systems, fire was alive, sacred. A living force passed from ancestors to children. And fire didn't just change the body, it reshaped the brain. Cooked food gave early humans more energy. That fuel went to brain development. Evolution sped up. Language emerged. Stories were told around flames, not just for comfort, but for memory. Fire became the center of culture. Now picture yourself again, freezing in the woods. No tribe, no sparks, no history to fall back on. You're standing at the base of 1.5 million years of human skill, and you've got none of it. Ancient people had knowledge burned into muscle memory. You're trying to remember if rubbing two sticks actually works. Spoiler, not easily. In the Stone Age, fire made you human. Without it, you're just another animal trying to survive the night. You've failed to start a fire. Now the cold is back, but that's not the only problem. You're not alone out here. And the animals hunting in this world have been doing it a lot longer than you've been alive. The only thing prehistoric predators truly feared? Fire. Not weapons, not humans, just fire. To a saber-toothed cat or a giant hyena, your body means little. You can't outrun them. You can't outfight them. But fire, that was different. Flames confused them. Smoke disrupted their senses. Embers burned paws and muzzles. Fire was your only advantage. Without it, your scent carries across the forest. The warmth of your body is a beacon. And your movements, slow, panicked, loud, only make things worse. You try to stay still, quiet. But even your breathing feels like a signal. There are no fences here. No lights to keep the darkness back. No sound to drown out the reality that something bigger, faster, and hungrier than you is out there. And you just gave it one more night of hunting. Early humans used fire not just for heat or cooking, but as a wall of light. Flames were placed at cave mouths. Smoke signaled territory. At night, a small fire wasn't a luxury. It was life insurance. Some ancient tribes even believed that fire didn't just keep predators away. It kept evil spirits at bay. They weren't wrong. Because when you're alone, freezing, and surrounded by things that can kill you in seconds, anything that can push the darkness back feels like a god. But you have none of that now. Just cold fingers, a racing heart, and pitch-black silence. You're not just cold, you're exposed, weak, breakable. And the Stone Age doesn't wait for you to catch up. Your stomach aches. It's been over 24 hours without food. You're dizzy, weak, and desperate. But food is everywhere, right? Not really. The forest is green and lush, but it might as well be a minefield. You don't know which berries are edible, which roots are poisonous, or which insects will paralyze your throat. Every bite could be your last. You spot some bright red berries. They look safe. They're not. They're toxic. Your ancestors didn't just guess. They learned the hard way. One by one, they discovered what was safe by watching animals, listening to elders, and testing in small amounts over generations. You don't have that luxury. You're guessing. You try chewing some leaves. Your tongue tingles. You spit it out. Too late? You don't know. Panic sets in. You start looking for bugs. Crickets, grubs, ants. It's disgusting. But you've seen survival shows. They're protein-rich. But finding enough is exhausting. And eating raw insects carries the risk of parasites. It's a gamble, like everything else here. Now imagine what early humans knew that you don't. They hunted small game, birds, rabbits, reptiles, using traps and patience. They understood migration patterns. They tracked footprints. They carved tools from bones and stones, then waited for hours in silence. You can't even hold still for 5 minutes. They also foraged with precision. They knew how to identify edible mushrooms, how to crack open nuts without getting poisoned, and which tubers to cook underground. You're still wondering if moss is a food group. And then there's the meat. You dream of it. But catching it? Impossible. Even if you did, you have no fire to cook it, no blade to cut it, no experience to clean it. Raw meat means disease, worms, death. Your body is demanding fuel, but here, food isn't fuel, it's a test. One that most modern people would fail by lunch. And this is only the beginning. You're hungry enough to kill something, but you've got no weapon, no trap, and no skill. You hear movement in the brush, maybe a rabbit. You rush toward it. It's gone in a flash. That's the reality of hunting without tools. You're outmatched. Every creature here is faster, more alert, and more evolved to survive than you. Your soft hands and slow reflexes don't stand a chance. You're not the predator here. You're the punchline. Now think about what Stone Age humans actually did. They made spears, fire-hardened wood, later tipped with flint. They created atlatls, throwing sticks that gave extra velocity to their projectiles. They carved bone hooks to fish in rivers. They used nets made from plant fibers. All this without metal, without machines, without manuals. More impressive, they didn't just charge at animals, they outthought them. Prehistoric hunters used the terrain, wind direction, and animal habits to stalk prey. Some even disguised themselves in animal skins to get closer. In snowy regions, early people dug pit traps, covered them with branches, and waited. It could take days to get one kill, but they had the patience and the need. And when they did catch something, it wasn't over. Butchering an animal with stone tools was a bloody, precise task. Every part mattered: meat, marrow, skin, sinew. Waste nothing. A single kill might feed a group for days. Now come back to you. You're chasing lizards with a stick. You're too loud, too slow. Even if you somehow landed a hit, could you finish the job? Could you slit its throat with a sharp rock? Could you skin it, gut it, and eat it raw? You're not a hunter. You're a bystander in an ecosystem that doesn't care about your hunger. And every hour you go without food, your brain dulls. Your decisions get worse. Your energy fades. This spiral only ends one way, unless you adapt, fast. The forest around you is quiet, but hidden in plain sight is a feast, if you knew what to look for. Prehistoric humans didn't guess their way through meals. They developed a deep, regional knowledge of edible plants, roots, insects, and even tree bark. They didn't just survive, they adapted to specific environments with surgical precision. Take acorns, for example. To you, they're squirrel food. But to many Stone Age communities, they were a staple, rich in fat and calories. The catch? You have to leach out the tannins by soaking or boiling them, or they'll poison your gut. How would you even know that? Then there's wild garlic, onions, and edible roots, powerful calorie sources, often buried underground and harvested with sharpened sticks. But dig up the wrong root, and it'll shut down your kidneys in hours. Insects weren't a backup plan. They were part of the diet. Locusts, termites, grubs, packed with protein, relatively easy to gather. Early humans roasted them over fire. You don't have that option. Eating them raw is a gamble, but wait too long, and you'll be too weak to try at all. Bird eggs? If you can find a nest. Honey? Sure, if you want to fight a swarm of prehistoric bees. Every potential food source came with a challenge, and the only way to beat the game was to know the rules. The most valuable resource in the Stone Age wasn't muscle, it was knowledge. What to eat, when to harvest, how to prepare. Even seasonal changes mattered. Some plants were edible in spring, toxic in fall. You're starving in a land full of hidden meals. You're surrounded by calories and you still might die of hunger. Because the truth is, surviving in the wild isn't about finding food. It's about knowing what food is and what food kills. You see smoke in the distance, voices, movement, other humans. You think you're saved. But in the Stone Age, strangers were often more dangerous than predators. Tribes lived in tight, isolated groups. They hunted, ate, and survived together. Outsiders were unknown, and unknown meant threat. Disease, competition, or violence. You don't speak their language. You don't wear their clothes. You don't follow their rules. To them, you're not one of them. You're a problem. In modern life, meeting someone new might mean small talk. Here, it might mean getting hit with a spear before you say a word. Stone Age people were not savages, but they were survivors. And survival meant protecting your group. No room for trust. No benefit of the doubt. Even if they don't kill you immediately, you're watched, judged. You don't know their customs. Are you supposed to speak first, not speak at all? Are you violating a sacred area just by standing where you are? Many early tribes had strict unspoken laws. Break one, even by accident, and you could be punished, exiled, beaten, or worse. You try to approach, slowly, hands up, no weapons. They don't lower theirs. They don't know who you are, where you came from, or what you want. You don't smell like them. You don't move like them. You don't belong. Even your body betrays you. Your modern posture, lack of scars, and soft feet scream weakness, uselessness. You couldn't hunt. You couldn't defend. You couldn't contribute. And a person who can't contribute is a burden. So now you're not just alone in the wild, you're rejected by your own species, and that cuts deeper than the cold. You think of prehistoric people as primitive, but their social rules were anything but. Tribes were built on tight bonds, shared danger, and absolute cooperation. Everyone had a role: hunter, gatherer, toolmaker, firekeeper. If you didn't contribute, you were a liability. If you threatened the group, even accidentally, you were dealt with. There was no court, no warning, no second chances. The tribe's survival mattered more than yours. Some groups may have used shunning, silent exile. Others were more direct, ritual punishment, public beatings, or execution. Not out of cruelty, but necessity. Resources were scarce. Every mouth to feed was a calculation. Keeping someone around who couldn't pull their weight, or worse, broke the rules, wasn't an option. And the rules weren't always logical. Some early cultures had taboos around certain foods, certain trees, even where people could sit. Others believed that spirits watched over behavior, that angering the gods could curse the whole group. Do something strange? Speak out of turn? Touch the wrong item? You could be seen as cursed, diseased, or possessed. You don't know their language. You don't know their myths. You step the wrong way, say the wrong word, even sneeze the wrong way, and suddenly you're a danger. The tribe has seen outsiders before, and most of those stories end badly. For them. Disease, violence, theft. Fear is a memory passed down, and your face looks like a story they've heard before. But it's not just superstition. These early humans had something you don't. Trust in each other. That trust was everything. It meant survival. And you haven't earned it. You haven't bled with them, hunted with them, shared a fire. You're not family. You're a variable. And in the Stone Age, variables get eliminated. They don't kill you, yet. That's the good news. The bad news? You now have to prove your worth. And in the Stone Age, acceptance isn't given. It's earned. Painfully. Some prehistoric tribes had initiation rites. These weren't symbolic handshakes. They were brutal tests, scarring, fasting, isolation. Some involved bloodletting, broken bones, or night-long endurance trials. The point wasn't tradition. It was to see if you could suffer and survive like one of them. You're still weak from hunger, still shaking from cold. But now you're expected to keep up in the hunt, in the labor, in the pain. Fall behind, and you're dead weight again. Show fear, and you're untrustworthy. There's no room for rest. They hand you a crude tool, maybe a rock, a stick, a bone. You're told to help skin an animal. You've never done this. You gag at the smell. That alone could get you pushed away. If you can't handle a kill, how can you be trusted in a fight? Even the language they speak is foreign, maybe a mix of clicks, grunts, or a proto-language lost to history. You can't communicate your intentions, so every move you make is interpreted through suspicion. Then comes the fire. They watch how you treat it. Careless? You're a threat. Useful? Maybe you earn a seat near the edge of the circle. Not in it, but close. And that's the best-case scenario. In some tribes, total integration never happened. You might remain an outsider forever, allowed to live, but never fully trusted. Never family. One wrong moment, a food shortage, a failed hunt, a sudden sickness, and you're the first one cut loose. Because when resources run thin, the tribe always chooses its own. You thought finding humans would save you, but in the Stone Age, being alone could kill you. Being with the wrong people could kill you faster. You're still breathing. Your body somehow is holding on, but your mind, that's another story. This isn't like being stressed in the modern world. This is psychological warfare. No sleep, no safety, no silence. just the constant hum of threat and the creeping sense that you're not going to make it. You haven't heard your own language in days. No music, no mirrors, no comfort. Your brain, built for interaction and structure, is now trapped in survival mode, full time. Cortisol floods your system. Your heartbeat never slows. Even when there's no danger, your body feels like it's dying. And that's the trap. In the Stone Age, your ancestors evolved under pressure. They had generations of mental resilience bred into them. They were raised to expect pain, hunger, loss. They didn't panic when a sibling died. They mourned, then hunted, moved, survived. But you grew up safe, sheltered, clean water, heated rooms, predictable days. Now every minute is unpredictable. Every sound could be fatal. You never sleep deeply. You jump at wind. You hallucinate faces in trees. And you're starting to feel something worse than fear. Emptiness. Without stimulation, your mind fills the void. You start talking to yourself. At first quietly, then out loud. Eventually, your inner voice becomes another presence entirely. A judge, a critic, a companion. It tells you to give up, that no one is coming, that you're not built for this. And it's not wrong. You've started forgetting what normal life felt like. Warm showers, laughing with someone. Your own name feels like a word you haven't heard in years. You can't remember what day it is, or if that even matters. The body can last a while without food, but the mind breaks long before the bones do. And when it does, even if your heart keeps beating, you're already gone. You start to hear things, not just the forest, something deeper. Voices in the wind, footsteps that never arrive, echoes that repeat words no one said. But you know you're alone. That's what isolation does. It doesn't just wear you down. It starts to reprogram your brain. You lose the ability to separate thought from reality. Memories bleed into hallucinations. You see shapes in the dark that look like family, friends, home. They disappear when you blink. You try to talk to them anyway. Stone Age isolation wasn't quiet. It was loud. Your brain screams for connection, for conversation, reassurance, structure. And when it doesn't get it, it makes its own. That's how delirium begins. Then there's the fear. Not the adrenaline-pumping Hollywood kind. The slow, crushing kind that follows you around like a shadow. Fear that you'll never escape. That no one knows you're here. That you were forgotten long before you even started trying to survive. And your body responds. You shake. You can't focus. You try to build a shelter and forget what you're doing halfway through. You start fires and let them die out because you're too tired to care. You stop trying to find food, not because you're not hungry, but because your will to eat is disappearing. That's the collapse. Not all at once. Quiet, creeping. Even if the weather's calm, even if no animal attacks you, even if you're not injured, you begin to let go. Your modern mind wasn't built for this much silence, this much vulnerability, this much nothing. The ancient brain was resilient, trained by pain, sharpened by centuries of loss. Yours was built for routine, for comfort, for traffic lights and to-do lists. And now you're here, surrounded by noise but utterly alone. That's when the final thought creeps in. Maybe this is how it ends. Let's say somehow you survive. You find fire, shelter, a tribe that doesn't kill you. You eat, you heal, you adapt. But what happens when you come back? You think you'll pick up where you left off. Coffee shops, phone notifications, blankets, showers. But you won't be the same. Because the Stone Age doesn't just scar your body, it rewires your mind. You've learned to sleep lightly, if at all. Every sound is still a threat. You don't trust strangers anymore. You hoard food. You feel panic when you're alone in a room, or when it's too quiet. Crowds feel unnatural. Cities feel fake. You've been reprogrammed by fear. Even comfort feels wrong. A warm bed doesn't make you relax. It makes you suspicious. You flinch at kindness. You don't laugh like you used to. You're no longer sure what's real safety and what's just illusion. Because now you know what it feels like to truly be prey, and that never leaves you. This is what prehistoric humans carried with them, generation after generation. The scars of survival, not on their skin, in their instincts, in their stories, in the way they raised their children to be cautious, silent, strong. They didn't just survive nature, they were shaped by it. You were dropped into that world for just 24 hours, and already it broke pieces of you that may never fit the same way again. That's what the Stone Age does. It strips away every layer until only the animal remains. And if you're lucky enough to crawl back out, you leave a version of yourself behind. You wouldn't survive 24 hours in the Stone Age. Not because you're weak, but because you were never meant to face what your ancestors faced. But somehow they did, and because of them, you exist. So next time you switch on the lights, turn up the heat, or grab food from the fridge, remember, survival wasn't always this easy. If this glimpse into our brutal past shook you, hit subscribe to Weird Histories. We dig up the darkest, strangest chapters from humanity's forgotten past. And trust us, the Stone Age was just the beginning.